Yee-haw! It is time to win some prizes. Good luck to you. I hope that you got your brand new card and you understand the instructions on the back of it and you're ready to go.
This half note is worth 2 beats. The spaces of the treble clef spell the word face, F-A-C-E, and this is the third one up, so it is the C. Staccato is a dot above or below a note, and it just tells you that you're supposed to disconnect that note from the other ones around. Don't hold it out a long time. This counts as an A in the treble clef or the bass clef. This counts as a D in the treble or the bass clef. That's a quarter note, which is worth 1. Any quarter note or quarter rest is worth 1 beat. This whole note is worth 4 beats. That is the incredible jazz pianist Bill Evans. Mezzo piano means kinda softly because mezzo means kinda and piano means softly. The second space up on the treble clef is an A because all the spaces spell the word face, F-A-C-E. That rest looks like an upside down hat, which means it's a whole rest, worth 4. Anytime we have the treble clef and bass clef showing up together, it's called the grand staff. This is the first ledger line below the treble clef, which makes it the all-important middle C. The third space up on the bass clef is always going to be an E because the spaces spell the word ace, A-C-E. This is the third one, it's an E. It kind of looks like a B, but it's actually a flat sign, and it means to play the note slightly lower. This half note is worth 2 beats. Since the spaces of the treble clef spell the word face, F-A-C-E, this one is on the bottom, which makes it the F of face. The bass clef is the graph for all the lower notes. If two of the same notes have a swoopy line over or below them, that means they're tied together. You're only supposed to play the first one and just hold it out through the second one. The bottom line on the treble clef is always going to be an E. That note is on a space below the treble clef, which makes it a D. This counts as a B in the treble or the bass clef. This is a quarter rest and it's worth 1.
A decrescendo looks like a sideways V going from the big end to the little end, showing you that you should have a lot of sound going to a little sound.
The third line up on the bass clef is always going to be a D. You get to mark it off if you have an F in the bass clef or the treble clef. Since the spaces of the bass clef spell the word ace, A-C-E, This is the second one up, which means it's the C of ace. BPM stands for beats per minute, and it's the tempo marking for any metronome. An accent looks like a little V on its side above or below a note, and it just means to punch that one a little bit harder, make it a little bit louder. Mezzo forte means kinda loud, because mezzo means kinda and forte means loud. This note is on the space above the bass clef. It's one note below middle C, which means this is B. The second line up in the bass clef is always going to be a B. This note is on the top line of the bass clef, which means it's an A. Tenuto means to hold the note for the full value and maybe a little bit longer. Eight VB means you're supposed to play that section one octave or 8 notes lower. This dotted quarter rest is worth 1.5 beats. Three is the value of any dotted half note or dotted half rest. Pianissimo means really quiet, and it usually has 2 P's in a row. 1 P is quiet, 2 P's is pianissimo, really quiet. This is on the first little ledger line above the bass clef, which means this is middle C. The time signature is what tells us how many beats are in each measure and what kind of note we're counting with. This is the great, the amazing Bach. That's an 8th note, which is worth 1/2. Accelerando means to gradually get faster. Forte means play it loudly. This note is on the space above the treble clef, making it a G. The third line up on the treble clef is always a B. Eight VA means you're supposed to play it 1 octave or 8 notes higher. The bottom line on the bass clef is always going to be a G. A measure is just a chunk of beats within a song. Most songs have at least 8 or more measures. Some of them have up to like hundreds of measures. 4/4 time is the time signature where we can have up to 4 quarter notes in each measure. A repetition is any part of a song or solo where you're just repeating some little group of notes. This counts if you've got a C in the treble clef or in the bass clef. An accidental is any flat or sharp or natural sign, anything telling you to play something different than what is normal for the song. The spaces of the bass clef spell A-C-E, ace, and this is on the very bottom one, so it's the A of ace. A repeat sign is 2 dots stacked on top of each other that tell you to go back and play it all again. A bar line is an up and down, a vertical line that separates measures. This counts as an E in the treble clef or the bass clef. The one, the only Mr. Beethoven. This is a bass clef sign, also known as an F clef. It is the graph for all of the lower notes. The fourth line on the treble clef is always going to be a D. There's the granddaddy of them all, Louis Armstrong. This rest only has one notch or one flag on it, which means that it's an eighth rest worth 1/2. It looks like fine, but it's pronounced fine, and it means it's the end, the finish. The second line up in the treble clef is always going to be a G. That's a quarter note, which is worth 1. Since forte means loudly, fortissimo means really loudly. It's usually indicated with 2 F's next to each other. This half note is...
I hope you won. I hope you got a lot of those filled out. Make sure that you post that. Even if you don't feel like you won, then make sure you post your card, and you can pick up some extra points and extra prizes anyway.